everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Stitch Sessions. I'm really excited to share this tutorial with you today because it's a project that's close to my heart, and it is an elephant motif blanket. So I worked on this for quite a while, and hopefully you can see the elephant motifs there. And this is a toddler blanket. So it's great for a little one that might be transitioning into a big boy or big girl bed. And this particular toddler is 2 years old. So it's a little bigger than a typical baby blanket. And what's extra different about it that I think is that the motifs are done in diamond shapes. So there's separate tutorials linked to this video on how to do just the diamond shape and then on how to do the elephant motif. And then of course we bring it all together with just a simple sweet little border and you are good to go. So I just can't say enough about this project, how much I enjoyed doing it, and I think you'll have fun doing it too. It does take a little while, so this is one of those projects that you definitely want to plan ahead. So if you're planning on doing it for a birthday or even Christmas, I would give yourself plenty of time before you actually give this gift, because you have to make all the motifs and then you've got to sew them together and then putting the border together. So give yourself a couple of months ahead of time, depending on how much time you're planning on putting into working on this project before you give it. In any case, let's just grab all of our materials and let's get stitching up this really sweet elephant blanket. Okay, here we go. In order to make our elephant blanket with the granny diamond shape, we are going to need 4 colors. In this particular blanket, I am using 4 different colors. You can just do it with 2, you can do it with 5 if you want. But this is the color scheme I chose with the gray, pink, purple, and the lilac. So I have the 4 different colors. Approximately you will need in total for this blanket 400 grams. This will give you a nice sized baby / toddler blanket. So when I measured out my squares, the way I think I want them to be, I measured approximately 36 inches across and 42 inches in length. Again, that may vary depending on how much of a border you decide to put on afterwards. So I'm going to start off with the elephant granny diamond first. There is a tutorial where we have shown you how to take a crocheted circle and turn it into a diamond shape. So we're going to put a link to that in the description box below, and that will show you how to make just the diamond shape without the little elephant applique on it. So make sure to check that out for your plain square, make sure to check that out for your plain diamonds. Now, you may want to do the whole blanket and have all of them with the elephant face on it. That's a design that's totally up to you. I chose to do some of them with the face and some of them without the face, just to kind of add that little contrast of color with the dark purple in the center. Again, however you want to design it, completely up to you. So these are all a medium 4 weight sized yarn. The thicker or the heavier the weight, the larger your blanket will be. So just keep that in mind depending on the project you have in mind. If you're doing this for a child like me, you probably don't need any more than approximately 36 to 40 inches across and lengthwise for a blanket. If you're deciding to make this as an afghan, then you will just simply make up more of these diamond shapes. Okay, so because I'm using a medium 4 in this tutorial, I'm going to be using a size 5mm hook. Okay, and of course you're definitely going to need some scissors and a yarn needle for sure, because you're going to have a lot of ends to sew in. I'm so excited. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, I just forgot to make a little note about the yarns I'm using. So like I said, it's a medium size 4-weight yarn. These are each about 100 grams each. Now this ball's a little finer than the others. This is the Bernat Satin Sparkle. So it's got this nice little sheen to it. And if I can find, I can never, there it is. Okay, so this is an 80-gram ball. I won't use more than this for the whole blanket because again, it's just a couple of rows in each granny square. So that's 80. This one is a Vanna's Choice Lion brand. This is the gray one that I'm deciding to use. And this is a 100-gram ball. And this is also, this is the Impeccable yarn. And it's got this really pretty lilac-y color. And this one is 127.5 grams. And I will probably use not quite this whole ball. So I've already done a couple of my granny squares. Granny diamonds. They're diamonds. They're granny square designs. So just to kind of keep in mind how much yarn you're going to need. So that's why this is 80, this is 100, this is 127.5. Now this bit here, this is the pink, the light pink that I'm using. I've just rolled this up because it was coming up to the end where it was getting a bit tangled. This came in a 454-gram ball. Now, I've already used quite a bit of it, but I had already used this for several other projects. So definitely I can't see me using any more than about 100 grams of this light pink. So that's why I said in total your blanket is probably going to take you approximately 400 grams in total, but it will depend on the size you choose to make your blanket. So just wanted to preface that before we get started. Keep that in mind. Of course, it's always better to buy that extra ball of yarn so that you know you've got it, so that when you go back to the store, if you run out, if they run out, then you're kind of out of luck because sometimes the shades are slightly different. Okay, enough of that. Let's get started. We are going to begin with the face of our elephant. So we are going to begin with a cinch circle. So we'll wrap our yarn around our fingers, pull that through, and chain 1 to secure. So there we have our cinch circle. Just want to get your tail out of the way. And so now we'll proceed to chain 2 more to give us the height of a double crochet because we are going to be doing double crochet stitches into our circle. So in order to make the center, in order to make the face of our elephant, we're going to start with 12 double crochets. Now remember that this chain 3 counts as 1. So we're going to do 11 more into the circle. So of course we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, and pull through the last 2. So there we have a double crochet. So technically we have 2. So we need to do 10 more into our circle. And if you're a little unsure, if you're new to crochet and you're still a little bit unsure or rusty about our double crochet stitch, we've got the link in the description box below with a quick little tutorial on how to do this stitch. So if you need something a little slower, you might want to just check that one out first before jumping into this project. But once you do, you should have no issues following along with our elephant diamond. So go ahead and do that, and I will meet you after you've done 12 double crochets into your cinch circle. And I'm just finishing off my 12th double crochet. And always make sure to count your stitches. So I've counted already, and I know I've got 12. Remember, your chain 3 counts as 1. And once you have your 12, you're going to take your short tail here and you're just going to cinch that circle shut. Don't be afraid to tug on it a little bit. And there you go. So it's just come together nicely. And now we're going to close off this round by slip stitching to the top of our chain 3 stitch here, which should be the height of a double crochet. So in order to close off our round, we're just going to find the top of our chain 3, and we are going to insert our hook and slip stitch to join. So there we have round 1 of our face. What we are going to do is we're going to do one more round to create the head of our elephant, and then we will go on to do the ears. Whoops, I just pulled that. So we're going to do one more round, and then we will continue on to do the ears of our cute little elephant. So the face will have 2 rounds of double crochets. So we're starting round 2. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That will give us the height of our double crochet. Now in round 2, we're going to be increasing the number of stitches so that our face or our circle stays flat. And you may remember this if you saw our crocheting a circle tutorial. And if you also just want a quick little refresher on that, we put that in the description box below as well, but we're going to do it right here. So in round 2, we're increasing the stitches, and we're going to place 2 stitches into each stitch of this round. So since this counts as 1, we're going to yarn over and insert back into that same stitch we just came out of. We'll yarn over and continue a double crochet as usual. Let's just zoom in here. Okay, so technically that's 2 double crochets into 1 stitch. We'll now go into the next stitch, which is right beside it, right there, and we're going to do 2 double crochets into that stitch. Yarn over, insert, pull through. Pull through 2 and pull through 2. That's 1 double crochet. We're going to do 1 more into the same stitch. So you can see if I pull the stitches apart a little bit, there's 2 in this stitch, and you can see there's 2 in the second stitch. So if you do that all the way around into each and every one of your 12 stitches, you should end up with 24 stitches at the end. So go ahead and do that. 2 double crochets into each and every single stitch, and I'll meet you at the end to close off our round and start working on our ears. Okay, and I am coming up to my last double crochet, so this will be my 24th in total. So again, I counted all the way. Now I'm going to find the top of that chain 3, which is right there, and I'm going to slip stitch to join. And now the real fun begins. We start our first ear on the elephant. So this is basically where we are, and now we're going to create the ear. We're going to slip stitch over and create the next ear here. Our little bow keeps moving around. So this is going to be fun. Now, what we have to keep in mind is we are actually going to change the way we insert our hook. So up until now, we've always just inserted directly into the full stitch. And I have a tutorial on how to identify different parts of your stitch. So there's a link in the bottom as well to that, but we're going to discuss it right here. So this is the full stitch. When we're working on the ears, we only want to work into the front loops, okay? So a stitch has 2 loops. It's got the back loop and it's got the front loop. The front loop is the loop that's closest to you, okay? So here on out, we're only going to work into the front loops. So you have to come from in front and underneath as opposed to going out that way. Okay, and the reason why we do this is because then when we build our diamond shape, we still need to have access to these stitches, and if we stitch into the whole thing, gives us a heck of a time trying to work into that. Okay, so let's begin our first ear. So we will chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Once you've chained 3, we're going to do 2 more double crochets into the base of this same stitch. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to back up just a bit because I really want to make sure that this comes out of the same spot. And when I yarn over, I'm going to go right into the base of practically where I slip stitched. And just pull through 2 and pull through 2 like a usual double crochet. So you can see that they're both coming out of the same stitch. I'm going to do one more double crochet. This will give me a total of 3 coming out of the same stitch. There. Now we're going to go into the next stitch and we're going to do a single crochet. But remember, it's only the front loop that we're working into. So the very next stitch is sitting here and I am going to insert my hook and make sure that it pops up through the front like that. Okay, yarn over and pull through, and I've got a single crochet in the front loop. And usually when you're working in single loops, it will stretch a bit like that. Don't worry, it's not going to create any weakness in your work. As we continue to build it up, it will settle in a little bit more. Okay, now, and you can see that it's dipping down, which creates part of the shape of the elephant's ear. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go into the next stitch and we are going to double crochet into the front loop of the next stitch. Okay, so remember the front loop is part of this stitch. Now we work into this stitch, so the front loop is right there, and we work 1 double crochet into that stitch. And now we're going to work 2 treble crochets, which require you to yarn over once, then twice, before inserting your hook again into the front loop. Okay, so we pull through once, twice, and 3 times. So you can see it's already starting to take shape. Let's do one more treble crochet. We yarn over 2 times, insert, pull through. So you're going to have 4 loops on your hook. Pull through the first 2. You'll yarn over, pull through the second 2. Oops, be careful not to split your yarn. And you'll yarn over and pull through the last 2. So you definitely can see an ear taking shape there now. Just to round off this ear, we're going to now do a double crochet, still back into that same stitch or the front loop of that same stitch. Okay, so just a regular double crochet. And so you can see it's just rounding it out that way. Super cute. So there we have the beginnings of our first ear. And these have been worked into the front loops only. So if I turn it over, you can certainly see that I have access to stitch loops in the back here, which will be very important in a little bit. Okay, we still want to create a little bit more height to our ear. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn. And now what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. And we can work directly into these stitches now because we've this part is going to stay above our work once we fit the diamond shape around. So what we're going to do is, this is our first stitch right here, and we actually are going to go right away into that first stitch, single crochet 1 into the next stitch, single crochet 2 into the next stitch, single crochet 3, and into the next stitch, single crochet 4. Okay, so we're creating a little bit of a ridge there. Once you've done a single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, we're going to slip stitch into the next single crochet. So remember how we did a single crochet here to dip down? We're going to slip stitch into that, and again that just maintains the shape of the ear dipping down. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to single crochet into each of the next 2, because remember this is that first shell stitch we did, which was the 3 double crochets, we're going to single crochet 1, 2, then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 3 here. So just might be a little snug, so just find an opening there, and you're just going to slip stitch. It could be a little bit tricky, so just be patient. Okay, so there we go. And it's going to curl. I mean, that's just what's going to happen, but these ears will eventually get sewn down onto the granny diamond. Okay, so now we're going to chain 1 and turn your work. So what we're going to do here is we're going to single crochet right into the very first stitch right there. Again, it can be a little nestled in there, so it might be hard to see. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 3 single crochets. Then we're going to slip stitch into this next stitch here, again to maintain our shape. Next, we're going to do 4 single crochets across the top here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so there we have our first ear completed. Then we're going to do a single crochet into the very first stitch here, 1 and 2, but then we're going to slip stitch into the next 2. So into this next stitch we will slip stitch, into the very next one there we will slip stitch there, and again that helps to really make that dip in the bottom of the ear very definite. Now into the next 4 stitches we're going to do a single crochet, and basically we're just trying to make our way back across to the other side of the ear so that we can work our way down. Okay, and then this is the 4th single crochet, and now our ear is complete. Okay, but we're not going to fasten off. We're actually going to continue to work our way down and across the top of his forehead here and create our second ear. Okay, so that means that we need to get really comfortable with slip stitching down the side here. So I am just going to find anywhere that's comfortable to insert my hook, not too far. Okay, and slip stitch there. Okay, so you can see it's already starting to go around that little bend. So now I'm going to find, and you might need to pull this apart. So this is our chain 3 here. So maybe I'm going to insert here where the top of that chain 3 was, slip stitch. So that's definitely working out quite nicely. And then here where the loop was of the base of the double crochet, slip stitch there, and this actually takes me right to the bottom, which is the front loop here, and I'm going to slip stitch into that. Okay, so again it's allowed me to round that out quite nicely, and I love that. There's your elephant ear. Again, don't worry that it feels precarious and loose, but it's actually going to be a-okay. Now what we want to do is we want to slip stitch into the front loops only of the next 7 stitches. Okay, so the very next stitch would be here, and we want to insert our hook from the bottom up, and we want to slip stitch 1, second one, that's 2, Here's the third one. That's 3. Here's 4. Here's number 5. Whoops. This is where it gets tricky. Number 6. I think that was 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And one more. We have right there, number 7. Man, this yarn is really splitty. Okay, so there we have it. So we've got our first ear, and we worked our way across the top of his head there. Now we're going to work our second ear. So back here we did 3 double crochets, and then we did a double, and then the triples, right? So now we have to work in the reverse order, because we are starting from the top of the ear, working our way down. So what we're going to do here is we're still going to chain 3, because we are going to have a double crochet height at the top part of the ear. But next we are going to do 2 triple crochets. Okay, that means we're going to yarn over twice and keep working into this same front loop here. Okay, pull through, yarn over, pull through once, twice, 3 times, another triple crochet, yarning over twice, pull through, 1, 2, 3. So there you can see the shape. And then we are going to do 1 double crochet, still into that same stitch. Okay, so you'll pull through and pull through. So this is the top part of the ear that has a double, triple, triple, double. Now we are going to move into the next stitch, where we will do a single crochet. And remember, we're still only working into the front loop. So this is the one we just worked. The next one is right beside it. We'll pull through and do a single crochet. Wow, you can see the difference once this one's finished and the beginnings of this. Okay, so now we're going to go into the next stitch. So into the next stitch, we are going to do a double crochet. In fact, this is where we're going to do 3 double crochets. Okay, pull through 2. And we need to do 2 more into that same stitch. So remember, a double crochet means we're only pulling through twice. So there's once and there's twice. So there we have it. There is the base of that left ear there. Okay, now we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we are going to double crochet into the next 3 stitches. We're going to single crochet. If I said double, that's incorrect. So it's a single crochet, another single crochet. So that's going to be into 3 stitches. And now we're going to slip stitch into the top of the single crochet from down below there. Okay, and now we're going to single crochet into the next 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Sheesh, this yarn is pretty splitty. And so this is the top of our chain 3 here. So we just find the loop that works. So that's 4 single crochets. And now we're going to chain 1 and turn. Okay. And we're going to single crochet back 4 stitches. 1. And the single crochet, we're going right away into the first stitch, the very first stitch. There's 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to slip stitch into that slip stitch. Okay. And in fact, I am going to slip stitch into the next one as well, because I don't know if you remember, but that's exactly what we did on this side on the bottom here. We single crocheted 2 times and slip stitched. So on this side, we're actually coming down. So we're going to slip stitch twice and then do 2 single crochets. So we've slip stitched twice, and then we're going to single crochet once and single crochet twice. And there you have 2 elephant ears. Super adorable. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to snip off our yarn, but I know that I want to sew these ears down at some point. So I'm going to leave an extra long tail so that I can go around and sew the ears down to the square eventually, or the diamond I should say, because you can see that the ears do not show up on the back. So when I snip my yarn, I just leave, I don't know, about 12 inches or so. I just do that, and then I pull through to secure. Okay. So there we have the base of our face and our adorable little ears. So what we're going to do now is I am going to do the I'm going to do the eyes and the trunk afterwards. For now, what we're going to do is we're now going to continue to build the diamond shape from here. And if you saw the tutorial we did on how to take a circle and build our way up to the diamond, it's the exact same thing now. The difference is when you're coming around here, you're going to have to work in the back loop. So you can see actually the little ridge that it's produced here. So that's how we're going to continue to build our diamond shape with regards to having the elephant face in it. And I'm just going to show you this again. So this one is the, let me just pull back here. This one is the diamond shape with no elephant face on it, but it's the exact same circle if you think about it. The only thing that we're doing differently here is we've added the ears, and so we've had to work in a few of the front loops of this circle. But the rest of the principles are the same, okay? So make sure to check out that tutorial for your diamonds with no faces on it. Now, it's totally up to you. You may want to do a blanket that has all the diamonds with the elephant face on it. So you would just simply start with the elephant face and ears, and then continue to just build as we're going to do here. I'm going to do this whole diamond with you for the elephant. Or you might even want to do a baby blanket or an Afghan with just the diamond shapes, with the circles and no face. So many different ways you can use this design, okay? But I am going to take you into the next few rows because we do want to make sure that you feel comfortable and okay working into different loops of the stitch. So what we're going to do now is we are going to grab our next color, which is pink. And this might be a little annoying, this long tail here, but just be patient. You can weave in this short tail now if it bothers you, or you can leave it at the end. I am going to leave it at the end, and we're going to go on to our pink color. Now, I ran out of this really pretty faint pink, but the good news is I had just enough left so that all of my diamonds, I have an even number. So I have so much pink, and I really didn't want to go to the store and buy a whole another 300-gram ball of this pink. So I'm going to transition to this pink, and it might not look like it on camera, but it's just a bit deeper than this pink here. This is a very pale, pale pink, and this is more of a baby kind of sprightly pink, I guess we'll call it. Again, on camera, it looks fairly close to it. But once you see a full square done, you'll see that it has a slightly different shade. This is just what I choose to do because I've got so much of this pink yarn left over that I wanted to use it in this project. But again, I've made sure that when I lay it out, my brighter pink actually will sit in corners and then the pale pink sits in the middle. So it actually still looks like it's done on purpose. So there's always ways to work around these situations. And it's also a very creative way to figure out how to use up a lot of your leftover yarn, which, you know, we're all about that, because how many of us don't have stashes from here till Timbuktu? So we're going to start with this slip knot. Okay. And so because my elephant head is slightly tilted, that means that I started just right behind the ear here. Okay. So I'm just going to turn this ear down. And so the bottom part of the first dip in the diamond is going to be right here. But I'm going to start just on the inside section of the ear so that it's going to be hidden a little bit, that seam or that beginning. Okay, so if this is going to be my first stitch, I'm going to count. So you can just basically go to the edge of your ear. So that would be the first stitch here. Remember this loop we worked into? So this stitch will be the one that I want the top part of my deep V to be in there. So if you can see that there, okay? So I'm going to work 2 more in from that. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So that's the one I'm going to work into. So once I've done my slip knot and I've secured it to my hook, I'm going to find that 3rd stitch from the edge of my ear here. So this is going to be the first one, the second one, and the 3rd one. Okay, so these are all the back loops now. So I'm going to insert my hook and I'm going to slip stitch to secure my work here. Now I want to just preface this by the fact that we have ended up with 24 stitches after we finished the face of our elephant. Now a diamond has 4 corners. So if we divide 24 by 4, that gives us 6 stitches per side. And if you looked at our diamond, how to create a granny diamond tutorial, we did talk about that. So this also had 24 stitches here. So basically every 6th stitch is where we created an increase in order to create our corners here of the diamond. Now in this example here, you can see there's the chain 4, okay? I started right here at the top, but because I want my elephant face to be slightly on an angle, I am actually going to start a little further here so that I can hide my chain 4 and then meet up at the top here to then start the treble crochet here, okay? So technically right now on our elephant, we are starting in this stitch here. So I'm kind of starting, I guess, in the 4th stitch. So if we count from each corner, because if we're going to increase in each 6th stitch, this would technically be the 4th. There's the 5th and there's the 6th. Okay, so I'll go nice and slow. If you didn't kind of get that concept, if you follow me step by step from the elephant face, then you should still be a-okay. It's just a little bit of math involved, but here we go. So I am going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is going to give me the height of a treble crochet. Okay, now I'm going to leave that in that back loop here. I'm going to go into the next one. and I'm going to do a treble crochet. So I'm going to yarn over twice. I'm going to insert, so basically I'm inserting from the top to come out the bottom, and I'm going to work a treble crochet. So pull through once, twice, 3 times. So you're pulling through 2 loops 3 times, if that doesn't sound confusing. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another treble crochet into the next loop, okay, into the back loop there. Now what I like to do, so technically that's the loop right there, but since I also have a bottom loop at the back, and I know I'm not going to work any more into the back, I would like to actually pick up that bottom back loop just so that it's giving me a little bit more meat to work into. So I'll just take that out and show you again. So basically, the front loop has already been worked. This is the back loop. So the back loop on its own is right there, but I'm going to pick up the back bottom loop as well. And that for me just makes it feel a little bit meatier there. So I'll pull through, careful not to split your yarn, pull through, and pull through. So there you have your 3 triple crochets or treble crochets, but into this stitch is where we're working one of our increases, okay, because see where the ear is? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And this creates our space, okay? So after I've chained 3, I will then yarn over my hook twice and insert my hook back into that same stitch here. Okay, so this is an increase stitch. That means we increase the number of stitches going into that stitch. So again, it was a triple crochet. So I yarned over and I pulled through once, twice, and 3 times. Okay, so there you have it. There's the first increase. So now I'm going to work down the top of the next side. So I like to keep bringing this back out so you can refer to. So this is what we've just created here. And now we're going to work our way down to the side corners. So these larger openings are the top and the bottom corners. Okay. So I need to do another triple crochet. I can never keep it consistent whether it's triple or treble. I hear so many people call it different things. It means the same thing. We know that it's pulling through the loop 3 times. So I'm going to yarn over again, and I'm going to find the next back loop stitch. So not this one, right there. And I'm also just going to let it find the back bottom loop, just to give me something to work into. So I pull through once, twice, 3 times. And then we're going to do one more into the next stitch. Yarn over twice, find the top of the next stitch, the back loop there, back and bottom. Pull through once, twice, 3 times. Okay, so now when I put my ear up like this, you can see that this is now the top, and our cute little elephant's going to be on an angle there. Okay, now to continue down the side, I need to do 3 more double crochets, not triples, doubles. So I'm going to yarn over once, find my next loop. Wow, my camera's really giving me a hard time today. So I'm going to find my next loop, which is right there, insert my hook, and pull through 2 and pull through 2. And I'm going to do that 2 more times into the back loop and the back and bottom loop. And I have one more time here, back loop. Okay. So 1, 2, 3 treble crochets, 1, 2, 3 double crochets. Okay, so Now we're going into the 6th stitch on this side, which is going to be an increase. Now remember that this treble technically is part of this set of 6. Okay, so we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the next one. It's the 6th one where we do our increase. So because this is the side corner, we're only going to need double crochet stitches for the height. So we're going to double crochet into the back loop here. So this has already been worked into, so it may be tricky to see. But see, all these stitches have been worked into the front already, so this is technically the back. So you just insert there. Okay. Double crochet. Here we're going to chain 1 for a spacer, and then double crochet back into that same stitch. Okay, double crochet, and there we've created our first side, full side along the top. So let me just pull that out here so you can see. So if I show you our cute little elephant guy here, or girl, we've got our top corner is here, and our side corner is just hidden behind this other ear here. So that is what makes our elephant kind of tilt on the side a little bit. If I wanted to keep him straight on, I would have done this increase right in the center of the top of his head. And like I said before, if that's the way you want it to be, you can work it out exactly like that, no problem. Okay, let's continue. So we're still kind of working into back loops here because we've got this ear that's kind of in our way, so to speak. So now we're beginning the next side here. So we need to continue. So because we came from triples to doubles, now we're going to go from doubles to triples, okay? So out of the increase, we need to do 3 double crochets, 1 into each of the next 3 stitches. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the back loop, back and bottom loop. Oops. And work 1 double crochet. We do another one. Going to do a double crochet into the back loop of this one here. Again, careful not to split your yarn. Okay. There we go. So we have our increase. We have 3 doubles. Now we need to do 3 triples or 3 trebles. Technically, now that we're clear of the ear, you can certainly work right into the full stitch. But one thing I noticed about working into, so it's fine if you want to work into the full stitch, okay? So it's still cute, nice and round here with the face. But another time I did it, and I still have to put the eyes and nose on this one, by continuing to work in the back loops, it really helped to solidify this shape, the rounded shape of the face. So I think I actually really liked that look. So I am going to continue on to work into the back loops only of this round here. Okay, so the next 3 stitches are 3 triple crochets, yarn over once and twice. So into the very next stitch, I'll just insert there, and I'll do as I have been doing, into the back loop as well as the back and bottom loop there. Okay, so I'll pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. So that's 1. Now I need to do a second one. Okay. 1, 2, and 3. And I need to do 1 more. 1, yarn over, once, twice, 3 times. Okay, so then I just count again. So this is my increase, so I start counting from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we know what that means. This is an increase. So this is a treble, so this is the top or the bottom corner. So my spacer is going to need a chain 3. Okay. And then I will triple crochet again back into that same stitch. So right there, I'm going to treble crochet or triple, whatever you want to call it. They both mean the same thing. So there you have it. So that is, sheesh, I know there's a lot of stuff happening here. So, but you can see there's the top corner and here is the bottom corner. So if I turned it this way, so you can really see, or maybe you can't, I don't know. It looks kind of like a big jumble of jumbles right now. But this is the top corner, this is a side corner, and this is the bottom corner. So the bigger gaps are the tops and the bottoms. Okay, so let's get this out of the way here. So now we're going to continue on. We need to do 2 more treble crochets coming out of this corner. So we're going to yarn over twice again, and I'm going to continue to work into the back loops only of these stitches. And just be patient with yourself, because especially like you can see I'm using this particular yarn happens to split quite easily. So just take your time, go nice and slow, and it should all work out fine. Okay, so here's the other triple. And now I'm going to do 3 double crochets, 1 into each of the next 3 stitches. So I have 1, I have 2, and I have 3. Okay, so I have, so remember the corner doesn't count as 1. The next one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 6 stitch is the next one, which is going to be a side corner. So that's only going to be a double crochet into that stitch. So it's a double crochet, a chain 1, and then a double crochet back into that same stitch. Now I will preface this by saying some people do a chain 2 right here, and in further rows that's exactly what you're going to see me do. But just for the first initial round, just to keep this a little bit snug, I've only done a chain 1. But it doesn't really make a difference. That's just what I've chosen to do. So if you see some people do a chain 2 or chain 1, it's really personal preference. Okay, so we're coming up to the last corner here. So don't forget, we kind of started in the middle of this side. So we are coming out of a corner, so we usually do 3 double crochets coming out of the side corner. So I'll yarn over once, insert my hook into that back loop and back bottom loop, okay, and pull through. I'll do the next one, so that will be the second one. So that is right there. And then the last stitch remaining should be for the third one, because remember the next 3 triple crochets are already done. So this is the back loop of this first little shell, or 3 double crochets we put in here in the front loop. If I just bend the ear down, I'm going to find that back loop waiting for me right here. So, whoops, I have to make sure I yarn over first, insert my hook, and I'm just going to grab this next loop beside it to give me a little bit more substance. And just bring it through and resolve my double crochet. So I'm at the end of the first round, and don't worry that it's going to curl up a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to slip stitch to join my double crochet to my triple crochet. So I need to find the top of my chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right in there. Okay, pull through and pull through again. And I'm just going to take my hook out. And you probably just have to set that down to flatten it out a little bit. Okay. So it might want to curl a little bit, but that is totally normal. Okay. Very, very cute. And the first round of the diamond is always like, not quite sure about this, but you know, you just have to put your fingers in each corner here and just stretch it out a little bit, because sometimes it's just, you know, it's the yarn getting used to the position that it's in. Okay, and then once you flatten down the ears, you can see how it's going to sit. So this is still the very soft stages, I say, of the diamond shape. So we've created the spacing for the top and the bottom, and we've created the spacing for our side corners. Okay, we're going to do another round in this same color. So we're going to do 2 rounds of the pink, and then we're going to continue on. And in the next round, the way we do it in this round is going to be the same for each and every round going up. So just like I did in the diamond with no face, the one with the elephant face is the same. So we do 2 rounds of the pink, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more rounds in total. And these 5 rounds will be the same formula or pattern as this row here, because we will now only be using double crochet stitches. So we use the triple crochets to create the shape and the height of the first round. But as we continue to always do increases in the corners, we don't necessarily need them anymore. Some people might still do it in another round, but I felt like I didn't really need it. So let's take you to the next round, staying with the pink. So basically, round 1 from the circle is how we formed the diamond shape. So if I just turn to the back, hopefully you can see the feeling of the diamond shape that's come on. Okay, so now we are just going to continue to build our diamond. So from here, we're only going to need to chain 3 because we're only doing double crochets. Okay, and now we're just going to simply double crochet into each stitch until you get to a corner. So remember, this is the bottom of this chain 3, which counts as 1. So we're going to go into the top of the next stitch, which is right here, and that would have been a triple crochet in the round below. We're going to yarn over and double crochet into the next one. So now you can see we're at the top corner here. So we're going to work into this chain 3 space. So to work an increase, you're going to insert your hook and work a double crochet, and then you're going to chain 3. So these top and bottom corners always get a chain 3 spacer. Then you yarn over and back into that space, you're going to do another double crochet. Okay, and so there we have increased. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet into the very next stitch. Now be careful, because sometimes these loops hide the top of this stitch, so you have to always make sure you pull this over so that we can find the top of this stitch here, which is right there, and we will work a double crochet into that. So you can see the increase should be sitting on top of an increase, and these are all double crochets now. So we continue on down the side, 1 double crochet into the top of each stitch, going all the way down until you get to the next corner. And all corners in this diamond shape are worked the same. You'll work a stitch, a few chain stitches for spacing, and then work another stitch back into that same space. So I'm just zipping through this here so you guys can see the differences in the corners. So this is my last stitch before my next corner here. Okay, so this is the top corner increase. This is a side corner. So into this space, so sometimes you have to just make sure you pull them apart so you can see where you are. Yarn over, insert your hook into that space, and you're going to create your double crochet as usual. And now I would chain 2. So now I do want a little bit more spacing there. And I go back into that same space and double crochet. Okay, so this is going to be worked the same way all the way around. Okay, so at the top corners, top and bottom, you do a double crochet, chain 3, double crochet. Then you do a double crochet into each and every single stitch all the way until you get to your next increase. In the side corners, it's just a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Double crochets all the way to the corner. This is a larger one, so it's a double crochet, chain 3, double crochet. And you continue on in the same fashion until we get back to the beginning here where we're going to slip stitch and fasten off our yarn. So go ahead and do that, and I'm just going to meet you back here when we're getting ready to slip stitch. Once you've chained 3, we're now going to continue working in double crochet stitches only. Just wanted to go back to the first round here. At the end, you are going to have 28 stitches. So we have an increase in 4 corners or 4 sides. So we're going from 24 stitches to 28 in the first pink round. Now at the end of the second pink round, what's going to happen is we're actually going to have 40. And I'll show you why that's going to be. So we're going to do a double crochet into each of the next few stitches until we get to the corner. So this is the second one and the third one. Now we're into that large corner where we did the triple crochet, 3, chain 3, and triple crochet. In this space, we are going to do 2 double crochets into the space. So we have 1. We do a second double crochet into the space. We will chain 3. That's always our spacer for our top and our bottom corner. Then we're going to double crochet 2 back into the space again. So basically every time you hit your top and bottom corner, this is how your increase is going to work. So in these corners, not only are we increasing by 2, or by 1 I should say, you're increasing by 2. So that's how we are going to jump from 28 stitches to 40 all the way around. Now when I count the stitches, I don't ever really count the space. So I'm not counting these chain 3s as part of my stitch count. I'm much more particular about the stitches that run along the sides up to each corner, because when we sew these motifs together, we definitely want to make sure that we have the equal number of stitches in each motif. Okay, and now I'm just going to continue on. And remember, you've got to push these stitches aside, because remember, the top of the next stitch is right here. It's very easy sometimes for these to cover that, and then you might want to go into the next one here, which technically would mean you're losing a stitch. So just make sure to pull those aside, insert, pull through, and you've got your first double crochet coming out there. And then you just simply go along each side and do a double crochet into each and every single stitch. So we're not changing the size of our stitches because the first round has already created that shape. Now we're just simply kind of tracing the outline, so to speak. Okay, so double crochet into each stitch until we get to the next corner, which in this case is going to be the side corner. So that means when we talk about the side, that means it's a much smaller spacing than the top. In the side corner, we are just going to work 1 double crochet into the space, and then here we're going to chain 2, and this is what we're going to use as a spacer from here on out in the sides. Then we'll yarn over and insert our hook back into that same space to create our increase there. Okay, so we've got our little spacer there, and now we just continue on. So this is the same all the way through. One double crochet, whoops, into each stitch until you get to your next corner. I'm just zipping through it here so we can get to that next corner, and that's where we'll do our increases. Okay, so here is the bottom corner, and this is where we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 3, 2 double crochets, all into the same space. Okay, so yarn over, and we're going to do 1, 2, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, insert your hook, and 1 double crochet and 2 double crochets. Remember to pull that aside, insert, and continue on. So hopefully you've gotten the gist of how each of the corners work, the large corners versus the side corners. So go ahead and finish this round off with a double crochet into each stitch, and then remembering how to increase in your corners. And I'll meet you when we are closing off the second round here, okay? Okay, and now I'm coming up to the end here, and I am going to slip stitch to the top of my chain 3 and finish off my round. And I have counted, and I have 40 stitches in total, so I have 10 on each side. Now I have to say that I did have to unravel this half of this round. So remember I said you had to move these over so that you don't lose a stitch? Well, guess what? I was busy chatting with you, and in the sides, because it is so cozy, I skipped the side one, so I was short. So I had to undo my work to make sure I got, so anytime you do an increase, especially in these snug little corners, in these smaller ones, you got to make sure that you pull your work aside to get that first stitch. So I know that I have 10 on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 times 4 is 40. Okay, and now I'm going to snip off my pink because now I'm going to go on to the lilac round. Okay, so I've got my lilac yarn now, and I'm going to start with a slip knot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in a large space to make this really easy. So I'm going to start at the bottom here. So I'm just going to do a slip stitch into that space to join. Oops. I'm going to start with a slip knot. And I'm going to slip stitch into that bottom space. And I'm going to start right away. So I know that now in this next round, I should have 52 stitches at the end of this round. Same formula, but we're going to increase the number of stitches. So again, just double crochets and increase. So we begin by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. And we'll do a double crochet into the space. This will count as a second double crochet because our first chain of 3 counts as 1. And we're in the top corner, so we're going to chain 3 to create our spacer. And then we will continue and double crochet 2 more times into this space here. So we yarn over, and I'm just working over my short tail here. And then again, I do another double crochet into that space. Okay, so now we've just finished our bottom corner here. Now we're going to just continue as we've been doing up until now. As, 1 double crochet into each and every single stitch until we get to the next corner. Now in this next round, we will have 13 stitches on each side, and that's why it should give us 52 stitches at the very end. So continue on as usual, and I'll meet you in the next corner. And don't forget, right after you do an increase, you want to make sure you get that very first stitch. Okay? So stitch away, and I will meet you in the side corner. And I'm just doing my last stitch before I get to the side corner here. And now we're going to increase as usual, just 1 double crochet into the space, and then we will chain 2 and double crochet again into that same space. Okay, and then remember, make sure we catch that first stitch, double crochet, and then continue on as usual. 1 double crochet into each and every single stitch until we get to our next corner. And you can see I'm coming up to where I fastened off. I'm just going to actually work right over that. So I'm just going to stick with you for a little while longer, just so you can see how I do it. So there is the stitch. That's where we slip stitched. I'm going to stitch into this section here. So that way I can pull this over and work over it. So I will insert my hook and pull through. So see how it actually will sit properly on top of that chain 3, which also represents a double crochet. And I'll just stitch my double crochet as usual, and then I continue on, and so the top of this stitch is right here, right? These are that's the back loop, that's the front loop, so I want to go in the whole stitch, and I'm just working over my tail there. Okay, so you pull through and resolve the double crochet as usual. So go ahead and I'll meet you in the large corner again, coming right up. Okay, and we are back up to our top corner now. So we're going to do our large increase, which is 2 double crochets into the space. And I'm just going to move that tail out of the way now. 2 double crochets into the space. Oops. There's 1, and there is 2. I will chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I will do another 2 double crochets into the space again. So there is 1, and there is 2. And then again, make sure you get that very first stitch, and you're ready to rock. So I've done 3 points with you. I think you should be set to continue on doing your double crochets up that side, increasing in the side corner, and then coming up around to the end. So I'll meet you just when we're about to close off this round and go over how to increase. And go over the whole diamond formula with you. And here we are at the end of this 3rd round in our diamond shape. So we're just going to find the top of our chain 3, which is right there, and we're going to slip stitch to join. And now we've completed this next round here. Okay, so that's the bottom of our diamond. So now you can really see how our elephant, the face, is really sitting on an angle now. So now it's really taking shape because we're able to kind of work out. So from here on out, I'm going to set you guys off because these rows now never change. You will notice that each row, each side continues to increase by 3 stitches, because remember, we're always increasing twice in the tops and once in the sides. So a great way to always test it out is to always count the number of stitches along each side and make sure that they are all the exact same number. So in this round, I have 13 stitches along each side, which is going to give me a total of 52 stitches. So if I just take one of my regular diamonds here, this is the round we've just done. Okay, whoops, I think that's, no, that's the right side. So this has 52 stitches all the way around. Remember, we're not counting the chain 3, we're just counting the worked stitches. Once we get to the next round, which would be the dark purple, we then should have 16 stitches along each side. So 16 times 4 should give you a total of 64 stitches around. And that's how each round will continue to increase until you get to your gray or whatever color you choose. And I have finished so that I have 25 stitches on each side. This gives me a total of 100 stitches at the end of each finished diamond shape. And this is really important because once we start sewing these motifs together, you want to make sure that you have the exact same number of stitches so they'll all match up nicely when we seam them together. Okay, so I'm going to let you go ahead and finish off this diamond shape here, and then I will take you through making the eyes and the trunk. Okay, so I've sewn down my ears, and so now you can see everything lays a little bit nice and flatter there. Okay, so now we're going to make our eyes, which I've already gone ahead and done one. And this doesn't take much, so if you've got some scraps left of the same color, that would be fantastic. So I have some of this original pink left, which is great. And so I will have 5 of these elephant motifs in total for my particular design in the blanket. So I'm going to need 5 sets of these little eyes. So we need 2 for each of the elephant motifs. So I need a total of 10. Okay, so I'll show you how I made this one. And notice I left an extra long tail because we need that for sewing in to the motif. So we're going to take our yarn, and I'm going to start with a cinch circle, and I'm going to try to make it a little bit smaller than I normally do because I'm not using a lot of yarn. And I'm just going to secure that with a chain 1, and that technically will count as the first stitch here. Pull that through, and I'm still going to keep using the same hook I've been using, which is the 5mm hook for this project because it's the same weighted yarn. So I'm going to keep it all consistent. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to single crochet 5 more times into the center of this cinch circle. So I'm going to insert my hook, pull through, yarn over, and pull through. So that's 1 and 2, and here's 3. Just start cinching this a bit, and here is 4, just trying to keep that short tail out of the way, and here is 5. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that tail and I'm going to cinch it shut nice and tight, and that's pretty much it. Okay, because then we're going to cinch it closed and we've got a cute little elephant eye. So I'm going to leave about 6 inches for a tail, and then I'm going to snip my yarn. And actually, when I fasten off circles, I like to pull right through from here. I know some people will do a chain 1, and sometimes I do too, but in certain shapes, I do it this way. And if any of you saw me make my penguin motif, I used a similar technique. So here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the top of that chain 1 here. I'm going to insert my yarn needle, pull through. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in through the top of, I'm going to go back in through the top of this last loop here. So I'm just going to insert the needle and go right down, whoops, I'm going to go right down the center of this stitch. There we go. And then I'm going to pull through, and what that does, see, it looks like it's another stitch, and it makes for a seamless, undetectable join. So that's one of my favorite things to do when I need to make it look extra pretty on a flat type of circular project. And then because this is really a small project, really short and sweet, sometimes I would continue to weave it in further, but I am just going to secure it to my short tail here by knotting it once and twice. And then this little tail will get hidden in the back, and I'm using this longer tail to sew it in. And there you have it. There is my eye. And here's the other one. So I have 2 cute little eyes. And I will just place them where I see fit. Some people like them really close together. Some people like them a little further apart. So I'm going to sew these in. And I'm a big fan of sewing in ends as I go along, you know, depending on the project, but usually that's what I like to do. I will do like a bunch of these, or sometimes I will do 2 at a time and sew them down, 2 at a time. So first of all, it helps to keep track of where these little things are. And it just kind of breaks up sometimes the monotony of doing the same thing over and over for a while. So I'm going to sew these down, and then we're going to talk about making the trunk, which is right here. And I just took a little scrap piece of yarn and I made a little bow at the top here. You can actually do this with some of that fine ribbon or not. Like I chose to make it a little bit prettier. You might choose to make it a little bit more neutral, and again, depending on the color palette you use. But that's just what I did there in case you're wondering. Okay, so I'm going to sew these down and then we'll talk about making the trunk. Okay, so we've just finished sewing on our adorable little eyes, and now we need to work on the trunk here. And I want you to notice that I've done it so that it does kind of swing upward a little bit. So it's super easy, but just something you want to pay attention to. Otherwise, some people would just crochet a straight section there. Okay, so we are going to start with a slip stitch. So we are going to start with a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 10. Okay, now I've gone back to using my gray so that it matches my little face here. So I'm going to chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so once you have 10, you're going to go into the second chain from the hook, and you're going to do 1 single crochet. So you're just going to insert and pull through. Into the very next stitch, you're going to do a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, and resolve like a regular double crochet stitch. Okay. Into the next stitch, you're going to do a single crochet again. So you're just going to insert and pull through. Okay. So that's already creating a bit of a curved action there. Now, in the next 3 stitches, we're going to do a double crochet. So you'll yarn over and into the next stitch, you have 1 double crochet, yarn over, into the next stitch you have 2 double crochets, and into the next stitch you have your 3rd double crochet. Okay, so you can see it's starting already to form there. Now into the next 3 stitches we're going to do a single crochet. So we're just going to insert the hook, pull through. So we have 1, we have 2, and our final stitch is right there, and we have the 3rd one. So in total, oops, into our last stitch we have our final one, single crochet. So in total you're going to have 9 stitches all the way around. So you can see it's created a little bit of a curved shape. We didn't need it to be too much, like in this one. Again, it all depends on the angle you place it on. Okay, so now what we would do is we would just snip our yarn and fasten off. And again, I'm gonna leave, I like to err on the side of caution, so I think I'm gonna leave maybe about, I don't know, 10 inches. I like to make sure I have enough yarn to do my sewing in. And then for this one, I'm just going to pull through, fasten my yarn. And so I would just kind of play around to see where you like it. Some people would want it this way. Some people might actually want it to go this way. The only thing is this is kind of the back of the work. So I've designed it so you can keep the front going to the left. So I usually pick around the center of the circle, the first center circle, or the middle of his face, and I would start sewing in right around there. And so then that would usually, and then you can angle it however which way you like. Let me just see if I can zoom in here for you guys. Okay, so I start right about there, and you can leave it lower. I kind of like just being slightly above that corner there, and that way it gives me something to work into when I'm sewing in my applique. So what I would do is once I thread my yarn through my darning needle, I will position it where I want. Now some people like to pin it. I kind of like to freehand it myself, and so what I'll do is I'll try and find a loop that I can pick up, and maybe I'm going to pick up a couple right here. And I also make sure that that loop does not come through on the back, because I want to leave my back fairly free of any sewn in ends, so it looks really seamless. So I insert there, and then I pull through, and I can pull it as snugly as I like, and then I'll come back and I'll insert it somewhere along there so that it's starting to secure the applique to the project. Okay, I'll do a few more here. So then I'm going to find another, let's say I want to find this loop here, making sure I'm picking it up and not going all the way through the back. Whoops, lost it there. And then I'll pick up a loop from the applique itself. Oops, lost my yarn. And so as I do this, and because of course it's the same color, it just gets embedded into the applique itself. So it gets hidden. You don't really see these stitches as they get sewn in. So definitely, you know, be patient, take your time, because sometimes you got to really fiddle with it and see where your next form of action is going to be. So I'm going to pick that up there. Oop, I think I went down too far. So try to keep picking up the loops closest to the top of your work. This one's getting a little testy here. There we go. And then come up through one of the loops of the applique and pull through. So now you can see it's quite secure on there. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this all in. And then you can also manipulate how much it can curve up too as well. Because once you sew it down, it will be there. And that will be it for the face of the elephant. So go ahead and do that. And at the end, you're going to have something that looks like this. And again, you can add that little bow for embellishment. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start constructing all of my diamond shapes together. So in my case, I have 5 elephant faces, and then I have 8 of these regular diamond shapes without the face on them. So next up, we're going to lay out the project so you can see how it's going to look. And then we also have to fill in the gaps. Because this is a diamond shape, once you start putting these things together, you're going to see that there's going to be gaps. So there is a tutorial I've done on doing half diamond shapes, and there's a video on doing the top and the bottom halves of the diamonds, and then there's a tutorial also on doing the side halves of the diamonds. And it does make a difference because remember, your tops and your bottoms are narrower and your sides are a little bit wider. So make sure to click that link to fill in the gaps. I know for me, I needed 4 of these bottom and top halves, and then I needed 4 of the ones that fit on the sides all along. So you're going to need 2 of these on the bottom of the blanket and on the top of the blanket, and you'll need 2 side halves on either side of the blanket. And again, that's because of my particular formation, and in this next segment here, you're going to see how I set mine up. Okay, so here I have laid out all of my motifs. So you can see that I've got 3 elephants across and then 3 elephants lengthwise. Okay, so that gives me a total of 5 elephant motifs, and then I've got 8 full diamond motifs in and around between the elephant shapes, or the elephant faces, I should say. Now, you'll see here that to fill these gaps created by the points of the diamonds, I've had to do some half diamond shapes. Triangles, I guess. That's what they turned out to be. So these diamonds, or half diamonds, are the tops and the bottoms. So you can see with the larger triple crochet here that created a taller half. So that's what you're going to do along the bottom and along the tops. Okay, so I still have to do one. And then along the sides, you see the difference? So it's this half of the diamond shape, and we can tell because we only used the double crochet increase along the side. Okay, and so what I did is I used the gray all the way around, and again, these are the ends of the rows, so it is going to snuggle in a bit, and don't worry about that because we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about evening that out when we discuss doing the border. Okay, so you'll also notice here that on each corner you're going to have a slant, so it almost looks kind of like a circular or oval shape, but again with a border that'll straighten right out. So go ahead and check the link for doing the half diamond shapes to fill in the gaps. There's one on the top and half bottom of your diamond, and then there's one on the left and right side, which are technically the same, of your diamond as well. And then you'll have all of your pieces ready to go and laid out. So again, depending on how many you're going to do, I'm just doing it more for a toddler's blanket. And without a border right now, my measurement is 33 inches across and 41 inches in length. So that's most likely going to increase a little bit once we put a border around it. So I'm thinking it could be anywhere up to 35 35 inches across and 43 inches in length. So it might be 35, 36 across and 43, 44 in length. Again, depending on how thick the border is going to be, which you will see very shortly. So get that all together, and then we'll talk about how to sew these motifs together. Okay, so we've got all of our diamond shapes, our half diamond shapes, all done. And so here I've laid everything out and I've started sewing the diamonds together. So I've just done a simple whip stitch, and you can choose the technique that you prefer. But I'm just going to show you really quickly how I've been putting my diamond shapes together. So basically what I've done is I've started sewing up the diagonal of all of these diamonds, and then I'm going to go back down this way just to kind of give it a nice solid connection. So I will show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so I'm just doing my last row here, and this is why it's so important to make sure that all of your stitch counts equal. There have been a few little offset been a few little stitches off here and there, especially with these half shapes, just because of the edges here, but these are pretty easy to fix. So I'm going to start off by taking a piece of yarn. So I'm going to use the same color that I did on all my borders, and I'm going to find, let's see if I can zoom in here. Okay, I'm going to take the outside loop of this corner here. So this is the corner. I'm just going to grab a loop there furthest to the outside, and I'm going to find the next one of the opposing piece here. So I am going to take this loop here, and this is going to be a little bit of trial and error, especially on these corners here. So I take a nice long piece of yarn. It's always better to have some left over than to run out. And I'll leave a bit of a tail here. And then I'm going to secure this with a knot and then a second one. Okay, and then I'm going to sew this in at the end. So the idea is I've got the right side facing up, oops, and I'm going to turn this so that the right sides are facing each other. And so now that this is nice and secured, I'm going to bring this up a little closer here, and I'm going to try and make sure that all of these stitches line up. So I am going to find, so the first one of this side is right here, and the first one of this side, I'm going to say right here, only because I'm going to count this as part of the other side of the edge. So this is officially, whoops, this one here is officially going to be that first loop. So this is the outside loop, because if I turn this in, you can see this is the inside loop, and I want to grab all of the outside loops. So I am going to start from behind and grab that outside loop, and then find the coinciding outside loop with the diamond on the other side. So this is the first and outside loop, because if I flip this over, you can see the inside loop is on this side here. So I've got the outside here, and then I'll insert to the outside there, pull through, and so usually we're using quite a long piece of yarn here, so you're just gonna have to feed it through. And don't worry too much about that tail, we can weave that in after. So then I find the next loop beside it, okay, and then I find the outside loop of the coinciding stitch, and I just, whoops, feed that through. For those of you that saw me construct the penguin pillow, This is a very similar technique. I used the whip stitch technique with the outside loops. I used that same technique on that pillow. So if you watch that video, this will seem familiar to you. Okay. And then this is what I continue doing all the way down. I just take the outside loop and I match it to the outside loop on the other side, and I feed it through. And I'm going to do one more here. Outside loop, outside, whoops. Careful not to catch that inside loop because it will change the look. Okay, so just to show you, if I turn that over, see how nice it sits, nice and snugly side by side. So those inside loops now look like they're the outside loops over here. So it just gives it a nice finished off look. And so that's basically what I've done over here, as you can see. So this one's already sewn in. So it just starts to, you know, make it a little bit smooth and seamless as we continue to sew them all together. So go ahead and sew all of your diamonds together. Really make sure they're nice and secure. And then we're going to talk about putting together your border. Okay guys, so I just finished doing my double crochet border, and it's just basically one double crochet into each stitch all the way around. And I love how this turned out because it really unifies the gray in the blanket. Just love that. But I want to put a little bit of extra embellishment because it's just got this really sweet, pretty little feel. So I want to do something with an exaggerated shell or a fan type stitch. So I'm going to bring back my lilac yarn just to add a little bit of accent to the edge. I'm going to start with a slip knot. And I'm just starting off kind of in a corner, bottom corner here. And I am going to just insert my hook. Let's see. I think I'm going to start here. So I'm going to insert my hook and I'm going to do a slip stitch to join. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I am going to chain 3 for this one. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to do 2 more double crochets into this same stitch. So I'm going to yarn over. Oops. Careful not to split your yarn. And this particular yarn seems to have been quite splitty. Okay, so there is 3 double crochets into 1 stitch. Remember, the chain 3 counts as 1. I will be working 5 into this, but this is my starting one. So I'm going to work 3, and when I come back around, I'm going to put the other 2 in the other side here. So once I've got this, I'm going to skip 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And into the 5th stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. So you can see that this is kind of anchoring down this way right now. Once I've done a single crochet, I'm going to skip 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And into the 4th one, I'm going to work 5 double crochets. Now some people might skip 4, and I did attempt that, but it just seemed a bit too much of a stretch. So that's why we always say, you know, crochet isn't an exact science. It's a lot of trial and error, and it also depends on your tension and your yarn weight. Okay, that's a little bit better for me. So see how it's that extra fan is just going to sit nicely there, okay? And so what I'm going to do next, in fact, I'm going to only skip 3. Now that I think about it, that's a little extra stretched out. So you see what I mean? Not an exact science. So 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th one. Whoops, we're going to do 5 double crochets. Now, if I had continued on to another row, this would really make a difference how many stitches you're skipping, because you want your stitch count to stay the same. Now, because this is going to be my final row, I'm not going to be too concerned about it. There we go. Now we have this pretty little ripple effect. So I'm going to skip the next 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th one, I'm going to do a single crochet. There we go. So you can see how it really anchors down that fan. So pretty. Okay, I'm going to do another one with you guys. I'm going to skip 3. I don't count that one. 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th one, I'm going to do 5 double crochets. Here is 3. Here is 4. And here is 5. Ah, that's going to look so sweet. Okay, then I'm going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th one, I'm going to do a single crochet. And those single crochets really anchor down the ends of your fan or flare. Now, right now I haven't blocked this project yet, so even some of the diamonds are buckly a little bit. And you may even find that with your shells or fans on the edge. Don't panic. Finish the project, and then at the end you can do a nice blocking job and stretch it all nice and flat, and it will all come out quite uniform. So go ahead and do that all the way to the end, and you've finished your elephant diamond shaped blanket. And 1, 2, 3 into the 4th. And this one is just about ready to go off as a gift. Down to the wire, I have to say. So I'm super excited about the reaction, because I know that they love elephants. And it definitely comes. So we're going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet. So there you have it, everyone. Look at how sweet that's going to be. Okay, guys, so do that all the way to the end, and you've finished your blanket. And here it is, guys, our finished blanket. So we just are in the process of blocking it now to flatten and smooth it out. And we're just going to add a few more bows to a few of our little elephant friends. But so happy with the way this came out and all the colors that she really likes in the lilac. So there you have it. So this is the plain diamond. Here's the one with the elephant face. And then, of course, we've got our half side diamonds. And then as you progress to the bottom, we've got our top halves. And then at the top of the blanket, we have our bottom halves. So you can see around the corner here, we chose to just let it kind of curve and bend along the way. And that's just why we just want to give it a little extra blocking help there to smoothen things out. So happy how this came out, and we are excited to see how yours comes out. So please feel free to post us some pictures of your final blanket. And there you have it. We'll see you guys in the next session.